Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and Native American peoples. Here where I am in Vancouver, those peoples are the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Stolo nations. But I know where many of you are, you're on the land of other nations. Always, but especially during this time, let us remember our connection to our sisters and brothers in these nations, and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. Welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. But what you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. Bruce and Cheryl.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of living. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I have just a couple announcements before we get started. Our first is that Harold Rosen, who's with us today, he runs this fantastic monthly group where we get together. It's kind of like a Bible study, but every month we study a different religion and the scriptures from that tradition. Harold's the only person I've ever known in my life who could teach this because he's so knowledgeable about all these traditions that we can meet like every month for almost a year doing different traditions. So this month we're going to be doing Jewish scripture, but in the past, last month, it was Chinese sacred texts. Before that, it was Zoroastrianism. We've done Buddhism and Hinduism, and we're just kind of going in chronological order. So it's very fun. Our next session will be on Wednesday from 7 to 8 Pacific Standard Time. And if anyone would like to join us, please just let me know in the chat if you want. But it's very fun. Several folks here do go and can attest to how amazing it is. So I think we have that announcement. And then I just wanted to let you know, I just put out what I hope to be our schedule for this next year. It's very fun. If anyone has any input on other things they'd like to see or things that are really important to them, it's actually kind of interesting setting it up because I'm never sure if usually each tradition gets 2 services, and I'm never sure if we should do kind of like the 2 main holidays for those services, so then we always get the same ones, or if we should mix it up. So I have kind of a little bit of both this time. But especially if it's your tradition and you're sad that I missed the thing that you really love, please let me know. Or if you have any other feedback about any other kind of things you'd like to celebrate or learn more about, and we can try to fold them in as well. And then actually, I already know that I think one of our services is going to be switched because it was going to be Anti-Bullying Day at the end of February. And I have a friend who's Uyghur, so a Muslim from China, who has a lot of important stories to tell. And she's talked about being with us at that service, the second service in February. So I think we might have that instead of Anti-Bullying Day. But if you have other feedback, please let me know. That'd be really fun. I want this to be a joint venture. That's always been the challenge, is how to create a community when you're still figuring out how to pull in everyone's voices. So it'd be great to hear from you. So yes, I think that's all our announcements right now. Does anyone else have any announcements they'd like to mention to the group about anything we could take part in? Okay, thank you. Let's just come into silence for a moment for prayer. There is one God. All victory belongs to God. May the dynamic power of God help us. This is from the poetic verse of Sri Bhagauti, composed by the 10th King, Gobind Singh Ji. God, the helper of the helpless, the strength of the weak, the supporter of the fallen, the true Father of all. Forgive us, O Lord, all our faults. Extend your helping hand to everyone. Grant us the company of those who may help keep your name fresh in our hearts. Through Satguru Nanak, may your name be exalted, and may all of mankind prosper according to your will. The Khalsa belongs to God, and to him belongs the victory. Karta the Creator and Kareem the Beneficent are the names of the same God. Razak the Provider and Rahim the Merciful are also the names given to him. Let no one in their error wrangle over differences in names, but worship the one God who's the Lord of all. Know that God's form is one, and God is the one light diffused in all. And now if you'd like to unmute yourselves and offer each other a sign of peace. You can say something like, peace be with you as well. Salaam alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Peace be with you, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Salam alaikum.
Peace, everyone.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
Humanity is one.
Peace to everyone.
Peace, everyone. Thank you.
Be with you. Peace be.
Bruce and Cheryl.
Waheguru, Waheguru.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Now, if you'll join me in our joint affirmation, we come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek. And let it begin here. Now we're going to take just a few moments to pray. As always, there are many things we can be praying about that are so important in the world. I think this week I'd like to focus on justice and the importance of the Lord bringing in justice and accountability for all of us and for our past actions. So if we could just meditate now on justice and what we can do to right relationships in the world. Thank you. Bruce and Cheryl.
This is the refrain from a Shabad for this day to celebrate Gobind Singh. Nasaro Mansur Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Esadi Manazur Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manazur Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Esadi Manazur Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manazur Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Esadi Manazur Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manazur Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Esadi Manazur Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manazur Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Esadi Manazur Gobind
Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manzoor, Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Ezadi Manzoor, Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manzoor, Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Ezadi Manzoor, Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manzoor, Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Ezadi Manzoor, Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Nasaro Manzoor, Guru Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh, Ezadi Manzoor, Gobind Singh, Gobind Singh.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I have to say, we are so blessed to have Bruce and Cheryl, which I'm sure you already know. But even this week, Baltej sent me just a prayer, and he said, this is really lovely if there's some way to incorporate this. And I sent it to Bruce and Cheryl, and they said, oh, we already have that as part of the music. So don't worry. I'm like, amazing, completely amazing. So thank you so much. We're just so blessed with you being with us. Now is when I'd normally pass around a basket. In lieu of that, many of you are so lovely and helpful and donate to the sanctuary each month. So thank you so much for that. That helps pay for us and for Bruce and Cheryl and all that we're doing. So thank you. I just put our link in the chat. And then are there any other causes that we should donate to right now? I know when Stephen's here, he very importantly reminds me about Doctors Without Borders, who does such great work. So definitely if we remember them. And then are there any other causes? You can either share them in the chat or say them now. Okay, thank you. Bruce and Cheryl.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you so much. And now it is my great joy and pleasure to turn it over to Baltej. Thank you so much for joining us, Baltej. Our good friend Sukhvinder Kaur Vinay knows him and was able to set this up for us. So thank you. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Kathy. And it's a real privilege and a joy for me to join in with all of you here this morning. Like-minded people, like-minded souls and spirits. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity to share what little I know. And I'll start with the normal greeting that we share with each other as sons and daughters of the Creator. And in my tradition and way of life, we share Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, the Khalsa, the pure ones. All of us belong to the one Creator, and all victory goes to the one Creator. I was asked to share this morning a little bit of Guru Gobind Singh's life, as well as parts of my life that have been inspired by Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And to that end, I can share as well that when we were just recently sharing of the loss of life of our brother officer in Calgary, just as the new year came upon us, and certainly within law enforcement, and as many of you may know, I'm still a serving officer with the Organized Crime Agency here in British Columbia. At that that hurts us a little bit more when we lose a brother and sister, and not to minimize the pain that and the anguish that we all feel when someone that is standing for justice and serving for the betterment of other is taken from us in a violent way. And in that same breath, we now hold time, space, compassion, kindness, and also expansive space for those young men who found themselves in that moment where this tragedy occurs. And as one of our friends was just sharing, that with prayer and hope and this expansive, larger, greater capacity that we are gifted with, to be able to create pathways for them as well, to move from where they are to something greater, bigger, better. And may this time also allow them to grow, to see the potential that they have and the opportunities that may open for them to move away from this tragedy and to take it to something different. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji was all about that as well. We know him as the 10th master. He's also known as the 10th light of Nanak, Guru Nanak being the first of the prophets or the teachers of the Guru. And Guru simply means that who moves us from darkness to light. And as the 10th Nanak, his role continued, his responsibility continued to stand for social justice, inclusivity, compassion, kindness, to be steady and steadfast in the face of tyranny and injustice. Born in 1666, so this is the week that we celebrate his birthday. And he certainly left an incredible legacy for all to follow. And I always share that I am without a religion. I am but with a way of life. And that is what was shared. That is what I have learned through my journey and my learning in this faith. And I'll share a small story from my childhood, which really created that capacity to connect with the teachings. I was probably about 10 years old, and standing with my father after service at a gurdwara, or a temple, a Sikh place of worship in Malaysia, where I was born. And a good friend of my father's came up, who he had not met with for some time or seen for some time. And he was, as we all are, complimentary and very, very kind and acknowledging my presence there as a young boy who had grown up and he hadn't seen for some years. And at that point, my father, he said, "Tell him who your father is." And he pointed to me. And I thought that to be an odd question, given that this man in front of me already knew who my father was, which was a person standing next to me. So I very quickly said, Nachattar Singh, which is my father's name. And at that time, my father said, no, I'm not your father. Guru Gobind Singh is your father. So tell him who your father is. And so at that point, I paused and I did what my father said. I said, my father is Guru Gobind Singh. I knew very little what that meant at that moment, but it caused me to reflect. It stayed with me while I'm now 55 years old, and I'm still thinking about it, of course. And so over the years, as my connection and commitment and the relationship with my faith and my way of life expanded and exploded, I should say as well, I came to realize that my father did an incredible thing that day for me, which was he tethered me to something greater than him. He tethered me to an idea, to an image, to a reflection, to a potential greater than himself. And that was an incredible recognition for him as well as for myself. And Guru Gobind Singh, he, as the 10th master, as the 10th Guru, faced some incredible challenges in his life, incredible, you know, tasks as well as tests, if I may. And it was at the age of 9 when the Kashmiri Pandits, the religious leaders from Kashmir, came to him, came to Guru Tegh Bahadur, who is Guru Gobind Singh's father, the 9th Guru. And they came because they were under attack. They were under attack by tyranny. They were under attack by the emperor of the time and his messengers. And I'll put this caveat in place, and we all know this as people of faith, that there are many instances in our history where faith is manipulated, and the word of the Creator is manipulated for personal gain and personal advancement and tyranny. So in that instance, the Emperor Aurangzeb, who was the emperor at the time, put in place a rule, and the Kashmiri Pandits, or those who lived in Kashmir at the time, who were majority of the Hindu faith, were asked to either convert to Islam, to move away, or if they stayed, to be subject to be put to death. And those were the 3 choices. And so the Pandits at the time came to Guru Tegh Bahadur and said, we're under attack, and we need someone to guide us. We need someone to stand for us. And as it's shared through the times, Guru Gobind Singh at 9 years of age said, Father, that's you. Father, that's your time. This is your time to give of yourself. You need to go there and stand for these people, for these citizens. And Guru Tegh Bahadur took heed of his son's ask, as well as his own responsibility, and made the journey with a number of other Sikhs. And the journey was simply to stay steadfast, to stand in place, stand at point, and to not give in to any one of those 3 demands. And be the person to say that if you can convert me, then all of these folks will be converted. If your tyranny works on me, then everyone here will follow. And so Guru Tegh Bahadur took that position in Waheguru. He was tortured. The Sikhs were tortured, and after some time, they were killed, but did not move away. There's an important piece here that sometimes my brothers and sisters of the Sikh faith forget also, that this was also a time that if it was of interest to Guru Tegh Bahadur to convert other folks from other ways of life into Sikhism, this would have been an opportune time for him to kind of say to the Pandits and the leaders of the Hindu faith from Kashmir to say, folks, I have no relation with you. I don't know who you are. So if you want me to come along, why don't you convert into Sikhism first? And then I'll head your way. But that was not the answer. The answer was, this is injustice, this is tyranny, and we have a shared responsibility, regardless of where we come from. And that goes back to the one Creator. Because if we have one Creator, we are not separated. If we have one Creator, it does not matter what mug we drink from, the drink is the same, it's still water. So from that thinking and that shared responsibility, the way of life is a personal choice. And that was what Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji defended. And Guru Gobind Singh took the mantle of Guruship at that young age of 9 years old, and then carried on with his legacy. being mindful of time and what the expansiveness of his life was, I'll share some highlights. And the next part that we speak of often is the order of the Khalsa, the order of the pure ones, which was what was brought forward by Guru Gobind Singh Ji in 1699 in Anandapur Sahib, where he gathered thousands. He put a call out to thousands, and he invited everyone. He invited anybody who was willing to come that day and put out a call. And when he came out of his tent, he had a mere request. He asked to the thousands that had gathered there, who is ready to give of themselves? Who is ready to give their head? Who is ready to come forward and commit? And so one by one, the five beloved came forward. And it's important to note that they were all from a lower caste, people at the time. In caste, as much as we say we are now casteless, we are not. We still have caste. We're still working towards some of the principles and some of the expectations that have been placed on us. We are not done yet. The lessons are there, but we're still catching up to those lessons. There's still work to be done. But this was a model that Guru Gobind Singh Ji put in place, that when you step into the place of responsibility and take on a disciplined, principled life and commit to truth and justice, at that moment you move away from all other things that you're tethered to. Then you have that. And at that point, you become casteless. You become without any kind of refrain of, social status. You are merely a representative of responsibility to truth and justice, period. So all of our garb, all of our symbols, the 5 Ks, these are more for us than for others. These are our symbols and commitments and our responsibilities that when we wake up in the morning and we don and we have these and we prepare ourselves for the day, that we are reminded by the teachings of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the 10th Nanak, that today you stand for truth and justice. Don't forget that. And as you carry these symbols that you've been blessed with, that you've been gifted with, that you earned because of your commitment to truth and justice in a principled life, that don't let that down. Don't let that falter. Stand with that. And I know, Kathy, you had asked to share some of my own personal journey. And I had shared that my life is intertwined with many of the teachings with Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And so when I came to Canada at the age of 16, to this new land where there were stories of, literally coming into all kinds of great treasures just by landing in this at the airport in Vancouver, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this country, but I tell you, sometimes the stories are inflated when you come from another place. So as we landed here, and things are a little better now because we have social media, so you can actually zoom into that place and have a look. But back in 1983, that wasn't the case so much. So when I came to this country, and in 1983. Not that we have gotten away, that racism has gone away, but it was severe. It was quite bad at the time. And one of the things that I was asked on day 2, as was many other young Sikhs that had come to Canada at the time, was to abandon our identity. So my family, who was already here, recommended that I cut my hair and shave my beard as I arrived. Because otherwise I would become a target. Otherwise I would just simply stand out, and that would invite all kinds of hate and other things that were going on at the time. I remembered back to the teachings. I remembered back to a promise that I had made to my father. I remembered that I was son of Guru Gobind Singh. And as a result of that, I shared with my family that no, I was not going to abandon my faith, and I was not going to abandon my identity. From there came many tests. There was all kinds of things that occurred. and I was the only student with in high school with a turban at the time, and that came with its challenges and tests. I continued with that. And when the RCMP issue came along and I had made a conscious decision that I wanted to pursue a career in law enforcement, that was also a test. When I was offered the job, I was offered employment. And at that time, again, that same sort of measure of who I was and my own identity and my relationship with Guru Gobind Singh Ji, my father and the creator, and my way of life, it was an easy answer. No, I'm not prepared to give up on my identity. And then I think much of it is already on the internet. I won't go on too much about it. There came a storm of controversy. I often say that I got in a bit of a tiff with this, with our beloved country and its people. I think we're over that now, kind of. But it also allowed for us, I think, at that time, in that moment, to learn more about each other. And I certainly took advantage of it and did what I could from a place of sharing and helping my brothers and sisters in Canada understand a little more of why it's important for each of us to be able to have the opportunity to maintain our identity, continue with our ways of life, and honor each other, in recognizing that we are, for the most part, all settlers here, and our brothers and sisters from the Indigenous communities and First Nations are really the folks that have been kind enough to allow us to live and play here, and to and to assume that somehow we've now been, we have the right, because we got here a few minutes earlier than the other person, that we have got more rights than the other is a faulty place to be. I will stop there. I note that my time may be up here, and I'll turn it over to you, Kathy. And I'm happy to answer any questions if they are, but I'm not sure if time will allow for that.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I could easily listen to you for so long. So appreciate hearing your story and your reflections on Guru Gobind Singh Ji. I'd been reading about him in prep for this service, and he's a really inspiring figure. I saw him listed as a mystic and a king, and just really so much of what he's done is remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you.
So
thank you for having me.
Of course. Bruce and Cheryl, I believe, have one more song. And then if you're able to stay past 11 to answer any questions, if folks might have some, if you just a little bit past, if that would be okay with you, I think people would really appreciate that.
Love to. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce and Cheryl.
Singh Ape Guru Chela, Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh Ape Guru Chela, Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh Ape Guru Chela, Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh Ape Guru Chela. Ape Guru Chela, Ape Guru Chela, Ape Guru Chela, Ape Guru Chela, Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh 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 Ape Guru Chela, Ape Guru Chela. Singh Ji Ape Guru Chela. Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh Ji Ape Guru Chela. Vaho Vaho Gobind Singh Ji Ape Guru Chela.
Thank you so much. Friends, let us go in peace. Let us go with even more love and respect for one another, holding our differences, holding each other, and remembering not to force ourselves or our opinions on one another, but to listen as much as we can and to just offer respect and greater wisdom by taking in what we have learned. Thank you so much.